Hi, welcome to the Gamesplainer. I'm Jeff the Gamesplainer, and today I'm gamesplaining December 2020. So it's time for my top 10 list for December of 2020. My top 10 of the year from last year, from 2020, has already come out. So please go ahead and watch that. But these are the top 10 games that I actually played during December of 2020. I had quite a substantial list to go through this time, so that's really good that things are starting to get back into their normal run of everything. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. My number 10 game for December is Rolled West. Now, Rolled West is a roll and write version of Gold West. I think it works quite well. I quite like it. It uses the same kind of things, different elements that you can go after, and there's a limit on how much you can do by only having 4 dice, but you're able to bank one of them. I think it works quite nicely. I do still prefer the major game, but Rolled West is, in terms of roll and writes, it's a fine game. It's a good game. I really enjoyed it. It has become my number 10, but it made my top 10 list this month, as opposed to, this isn't a great game because it's my number 10. So this one knocked a few other games out this month, which is really good. Let's keep moving. My number 9 game for December is Elfen Roads. Elfen Roads is a bit of an older game. It's in the box. There's 3 different versions, I believe, of how to play it, or different ways to play the same materials. We have always played the same way, because that's the version my cousin keeps bringing out, and I'm okay with that. I quite like it. It moves through you. You're basically just trying to get to as many places as you can, but using cards and cheats that match to enable you to move through different things. So if someone that you're traveling next to uses a dragon and you have a dragon card, you can actually travel on that dragon to get along that bit of road. It's quite a good game. I found that every time we've played this, we've got to the end and it's within 1 or 2 little spots, because the whole idea of the game is you have to visit each city on the board. We're always within 1 or 2 markers from those cities to find who the winner is. Even though everyone's gone slightly different directions, it's a really well-balanced game. I think it's a really overlooked game as well, so it's worthwhile having a look at. My number 8 game for December is New York Zoo. So New York Zoo is another game in the line of games from Uwe Rosenberg that uses the polyomino pieces to fill up spots on your boards, and you do other things with them. I actually really preferred this one to the other 3. I think I said that in my Gamesplay introduction, that this is actually a better game than the other 3 that have come out from him that kind of use that same idea. I think it's because it has animals in there as well, and you need to get animals onto the polyomino pieces, and then they breed, and once a polyomino is full of animals, then you get to take some other bits in, and so whoever fills up their space on their board the quickest is the winner. But having just these other extra elements has made that a really good game. I really enjoy this one. I think it's a worthwhile game to have a look at. It's a worthwhile game to play. It's a worthwhile game to own. My number 7 game for December is The Colonists. Now, The Colonists is one of those games that I've had on my shelf for a while. It took me forever to actually play the thing, simply because it is vast. It's an epic game. With 2 players, it usually goes for about 6 hours, give or take, depending on how much thinking everyone's doing. With a 4-player game, theoretically it should probably take about 12 hours. It's a really long game. You've got to invest time in it, and I've invested in this one. Each time it's come up, I've pretty much invested the day in just playing it through. Now, it's a really good game for myself and my wife to play, simply because we have the ability to take our turn and then go off and do something else while the other player's playing, if we wish to. I mean, it does slow down the game dramatically if we do that too often, but we can stop and go and get dinner and then come back and continue playing as we were, as much as we like, and I really appreciate that out of the game. It's just a nice flow of a game. It's one of those games which has a really dense rule set, and there's little minutiae rules for each little thing because there's so darn much going on, but the actual playing of it is relatively straightforward. I really like it. It's always been in my top 10 every time it's come through as a game that has been played. It's made that top 10. I believe it's made the top 10 for the year quite a few times. It's a really good game. It's worthwhile looking into. If you haven't come across it and you have the time to invest in it, please be aware of that timing. It's an awfully good game, The Colonists. My number 6 game for December is Kitchen Rush. Kitchen Rush is one of those games that this is the second edition of it. It came out a few years back with their first edition. I'm not sure what the differences are. I did play first edition when someone brought it along to a game night one time, and it's been a really long time, so I've forgotten a lot of the minutiae of it, but it didn't feel very different to that first play of it. I really enjoyed it though. The whole idea of the game is that it's a co-op game. You're working with sand timers. Those sand timers are your workers, and they need to do a whole bunch of stuff around the board. And each shift is like 4 minutes. There's 4 shifts in the whole game. So the whole game, in terms of actual playtime, is 16 minutes. But there's a lot of talking back and forward in between each of those shifts to, oh, we'll do this and we need to do that and this is the thing. And there's bits of scoring. And to be honest with you, I haven't won on the full game once. I've won all of the games that lead up to that. So there's a whole bunch of scenarios that lead you towards playing the full game to help you learn the game. I haven't once won with the full game. I really like that. I really like that out of a co-op game, that there's a high percentage of not winning so that you continually work towards winning. So I fear that once I win the game, I'll probably put it aside. But until that happens, I will continue to work forward. My number 5 game for December is Wingspan. Wingspan has always been high on my ratings. It is high on a lot of people's ratings. A lot of people, gamers, always talk down about it, but I fear they do that simply because it is such a well-respected and well-played game, and everyone seems to like it, and people who aren't gamers like it. Oh, how dare you like it if you're not a gamer. I still really like it. I do now have both of the expansions, Europe and the Oceania, which is Australian expansions, and I'm now playing with all of that stuff included, which gives an immensely large stack of cards, but I've still managed to get the entire game into one box. Yes, I've had to pack down the bird feeder dice roller, but that's neither here nor there. Wingspan is a really good game. You're consistently trying to work on, oh, I need to have this to be able to get more birds, in. I need to have cards in my hand. I need to give birth to this and this. And each time you do the columns, you get all the stuff in the columns. There's so much going on with this one. It's a really fun game, and it's one of those games that myself and my wife will just bring to the table and put on there, and we play because we know it so well. It gets played quite often in this house. So that's Wingspan. My number 4 game for December is Louvre. So, once again, Louvre has made my top 10 list, but I still don't own it. I don't think I'll ever own it. I'm fortunate enough to have a cousin who just brings it with him pretty much every time he comes to a game night. So, it's really easy to get played, and I enjoy it. I play it well, and I understand exactly what's going on. The whole idea with this game is that you have 3 different types of citizen or building, I guess, and you're trying to build them on the tiles that you put down, which have 3 hexes on them, and they all kind of join together really nicely. And then once you've built a village, you want to expand that village. Once you've got the village to the right size, you can then put in this other type of building. Putting this other type of building in, there's 3 different types of buildings. You have to put this other 3rd type of building on level 3. So you have to have a number of the pieces on the table to put another piece on top of those pieces, and then enough of those to put them on top. Oh, there's so much going on with this one. The explanation of it can seem a little bit quirky, but it does make sense. The actual actions of what you're doing, once you know what it is, makes sense, but you've got to know what it is first. If you haven't quite caught those things, you've just got to be really careful that you can actually play the game and don't kind of like, I don't know what's going on. So you do need to make sure you understand all the nuance of the placement, but broader scheme, you're placing a tile down and then you're putting a building somewhere. That's pretty much the game. I really like it, I really enjoy it, I really appreciate everything that's going on. My number 3 game for December is Techenu. Now, Techenu, I was surprised to see it on this list because this is one of the few games this year that got played a couple of times. One of the times was last month in November. I did get this played again very early in December, just before I did the gameplay of it. I really like it. I think this is such a wonderful, wonderful game. I do understand that a heck of a lot of people look at it and go, oh, there's too much going on, I can't handle it. But if you can get your head around all of the rules and the minutiae of, oh, you do this to this to this, the game makes a lot of sense and works really well. I think this is a wonderful game and it's a worthwhile one to look into, and have a look at my gameplay and explanation of this one to get a feel for what I'm actually talking about with this. Because on the board there's like 6 different things that could happen, and you've got dice of different colors, and depending on if there's shadow on the section that those dice are in, they might be able to be used for good or not good, or can't use them at all. There's so much stuff going on. As I say, I believe I did 2 videos of this one. The first video is literally getting through all of the setup and basic idea of it. The second video is the minutiae of each of the 6 spots. And both of those videos came up on around about 15 minutes each. Like I could have done those one, but there's so much stuff to look at with this one that I think it's a worthwhile one. My number 2 game for December is Alma Mater. Alma Mater is the brother or related game of Coimbra, and I think that this is a wonderful addition to that type of game. This is an action selection game, but you only have very few pieces to select with, and the spots that you select will probably cost you stuff that you don't have. So what I found is that it's possible to play this game without really doing anything, even though you've done stuff for the whole game. So you need to keep your eye on, how do I move myself forward? You can move up a track on the left, you can bring in students, you can bring in professors. They're kind of the 3 main things we're working on in this game. But you've got to find a balance on when to work in each area, in each sector. There's this whole idea of, I am a professor, so therefore I have books and knowledge in an area, and I can sell that to other players, or other players can buy that from me, more importantly. And that's a really important step in this game to remember and to keep working at. Look, I just think this is a wonderful, wonderful game. I think it's a worthwhile look at. Please have a look at my gameplay and explanation to get a feel for that one. My number 1 game for December is Speakeasy Blues. Speakeasy Blues will be getting its gameplay this week, so please look out for that. The whole idea of this game is that there are dice. You roll those dice, and they're dice of certain colours, so it's 2 of each colour. You're choosing 2 dice of the same colour, putting them on the space, and then doing the 2 actions that you've selected from the board. I think there's 6 actions possible on the board. And so you're selecting 2 of those and doing those 2 actions. Within this game, there's 2 economies. There's money, but money isn't really heavily used. Reputation is a higher economy and is used a lot. You can use your reputation to do actions that may not be available if you didn't have the reputation. So if your reputation's at 0, it's actually next to impossible to do anything. Yes, you can do stuff, don't misunderstand me, but it's really, really hard to find things to do when you're at that point. And so going after reputation and things that push your reputation forward is really important to understand. There's 2 different mafia crime families that you're dealing with, and there's police, and they don't really have much interaction except for some cards. There's stuff that happen. Look, there's so many things going on with this game. It's a worthwhile one to look into and get a feel for how it actually plays. Even though it was a 2018 release, it was a gift from Christmas. I really appreciate it. I'm so glad that I've got it. It's such a good game. Please go ahead and watch all my games, plans and explanations to get a feel for any of these games. There's only a few of them that don't actually have one up, and quite often they'll be coming soon. If you have any games that you would like to be gamesplaying, please shoot me an email to thegamesplainer@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter @thegamesplainer to keep up to date with the games that I'm playing. Subscribe to my videos to keep up to date with the games that I'm gamesplaining. And until next time, enjoy gaming.